Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry. And here I am with the Hoover Hushtone. And some of you guys were asking me what I thought of it, because I've only used it for, I think, 3 days now. So I got a few things to say about it. Overall, I definitely like this vacuum. I think it looks like a serious vacuum. That's a good point. It has some interesting features, so we'll start off with some of the more obvious things. It comes with a detachable cord. And I think this is I think that's about 40 feet or so. Maybe it's 50 feet. I can't remember now what it said, and I didn't measure it. And so you just you kind of plug it in, and I guess you can hook it on there, or I put it through the handle, easier. But a couple of things about it that let's just go over some of the more obvious details. Right here, this actually, when you wrap the cord, that goes around there, and then it's kind of a quick release idea, which is good. Obviously, it's got a fairly long hose, and the only thing I've really kind of dislike about using this thing is when I go to grab the wand, it kind of tends to stick in there a little bit. If you grab something along the edge or whatever. So, and if you've got it sort of wrapped up there where you normally would have it, and you go to grab it, it's a little bit awkward there. But what I typically do is I just leave it hanging loose, and then it's much easier. Not a big deal. This tube is quite short, so you got to really bend over to get the edge. But what I typically do now is I'll stick the crevice tool in my pocket. I'll just pop it on the end, and then use it there. And so it's got a nice little handy place to put the crevice tool. It's got a little dusting brush, which I don't expect I'll ever use, but anyway, there it is. Notice that it has the CRI, Carpet and Rug Institute seal of approval there, so that's kind of nice. Not that I really actually care that much about that, but it just gives it I guess, legitimacy, you could say. A couple of other things. This is actually the release for the to drop it down and to operate it, and that seems to be obviously working well. This hose pops off here very easily. I don't expect I'll be popping it off much, and I can see that there is you can see that there, but there's a little kind of a foam seal in there, and I suspect that seal, if it's coming on and off of there a lot, will not stand up really well. But I could replace that with an O-ring if I wanted to, but I don't expect to pop that off much unless I'm cleaning this out, which obviously you're going to have to do from time to time. So that's easy enough to do, which is great. Now, this hose here, if you were to get a clog in there, you just release it right there and twist it, and there you go. Easily get access if you end up with a clog, a hair, bobby pin or whatever, and that it just kind of goes back and snaps into place. So that's a good feature. The hose pops off here very easily, and so you can get at that. You could reach in there if you need to, and if you did get something in there, there's 4 screws. If you couldn't just reach in there and get it out, I don't expect that'll happen, but it could. Access is easy. Around the front, we have a very nice bumper. It's a rubberized bumper, which is nice. And I guess there's 4 settings. That would be, I assume that would be the lowest setting. I've never used that yet, actually. And then you continue on up from there, and then all the way over there is for your long pile carpet. There's a light here that indicates the brush roll is spinning. It does have the IntelliBelt, which basically means it'll immediately shut down the vacuum if it senses that the brush roll jams, which is a good idea. And look at that, made in the USA. I think it's actually assembled in the USA. I'm not sure if every part was made there, but that's kind of the way things go, I guess. The switch over here is it's a 2-speed, and now what you're going to notice, I'll turn it on the low speed first, and when I turn it on, there's a brief second or so where it hesitates and then it turns on, and I'll show you why in a sec. So there's low speed. And there's off. And there's high speed. So it's actually quite a bit less noise, sound, volume on the low speed. And what I've been doing is pre-vacuuming with the high speed, and then when I do my post-vacuuming, grooming, I put it on low speed, which is one of the reasons why I thought this would be a good choice. So there's that. And if you're maybe doing a carpet where you need to have a less suction, certain really thin rugs, then you can turn it to the lower speed, so that's going to be handy. It has a HEPA filter here, which pops off, and this is washable, which is good. It also has a charcoal filter. Hey, look at that. So I assume that's for if you run into, I assume the charcoal filter is going to be good for odors, I guess. Up here, there is a suction indicator, and I'm going to show you that in a sec because I'll get to that in a sec, which is good. The advantage of that is if you, even if you have a bag that's nowhere near full, it could still be constricted and you're not really realizing it because maybe you've picked up some fine drywall dust or whatever. And then if this thing is really going into the red, then you know that you've actually really reduced your suction, and maybe you want to change the bag, even though it's not empty. So that's handy. The bag itself is actually attached in the door. And that's not how most vacuums do this, but this is nice, actually, because when you go to empty this bag, what you do is you push here, and this releases the hooks here, and the bag basically just pulls or drops out into your garbage can or whatever, so you really technically don't have to, the idea is that you don't have to touch the bag, so I think that's a good feature. It has a filter, extra filter in front of the motor, which again that's a washable type, so that's handy. If you ended up with a split in your bag, which could happen, having that extra filter there is a good idea. And so that's that. Now the bottom of the vacuum, just show you that. It has a metal plate at the front, and then to get the at the brush roll, you just pop these inward, and that pops downward, and then the whole thing just pulls off, and there you go. That's pretty simple. Obviously there's the belt. Seems like a really skookum brush roll, pretty stiff actually. And so we're going to put that back, reattach, oops, reattach that, there we go, locked, latched. This is the where the height adjustment, these wheels go up and down. They seem to be sort of a rubberized wheel, which is nice. It seems to be well made, lots of reinforcement and a good solid axle. That's all good signs for longevity. Now, I'm going to show you why this vacuum has a delay when you start it up. And the reason I actually opened it up, I'll show you why in a sec. Oops, hang on a sec. Get rid of that. Just going to get rid of these things out of the way. I noticed when I was about to film here, I checked it out, I noticed that the vacuum thing wasn't moving. So I thought, oh, better find out what's going on. So I undid there's 3 3, and 4 screws, and then this whole assembly just slid up. And so here is the sensor. Very simple. It's got a spring and a colored device in it, and as you if you seal off the vacuum, this pulls back against the spring. And oddly enough, there was no screws here. It's just sitting here. It looks like there should be screws there, but there isn't. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be or not, and maybe somebody didn't do their job. I don't know. I'll take a look at the parts diagram online there and see if there's any indication of that. It appears that there's a place to put screws. So anyway, that's. I just this actually pops off, and the thing just pulls out and kind of just slides back and forth. That's a pretty simple device. So, and here's the reason why this thing has a delay start. Look at that. Now, I think that it's not unusual to find vacuums with these circuit boards now. You can see there's a heat sink over there, and we got transistors and diodes and all kinds of things. I bet you that wouldn't be too cheap to replace. Hopefully it will last. I'm not sure why they, don't just simply have a simple on-off. We'd have to ask Hoover why they've done that. For whatever reason, that's what they've done. But overall, I like the vacuum. It does certainly seem to have a lot of, it's definitely moving a lot of air. I can really hear the air moving. And compared to the Pro Team, I definitely know that it's got more suck. I've already noticed on certain carpets, it's actually lifting them right off the floor. So, and I'll do a little comparison with the Kirby doing the flower through the carpet trick. We'll try that video. Maybe I'll do that later today. But anyway, overall, I definitely do like the vacuum. Hopefully it'll be prove to be a good choice in the long run. I think so. It's lighter, but it is harder to push on the carpet compared to the Kirby, because the Kirby, of course, has the power assist. But anyway, we'll give it I'll be mentioning it, I'm sure, in future videos, how I'm liking it and whatnot. So anyway, so that's the Hoover Hushtone, and I'll put it back together and continue on my way. Okay, there you go.